Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Ankita Jain, bringing you this video on behalf of Acviss. We are here to speak of copyrights today. So while we begin to understand copyrights, let's get to know what is the basis of it. How does copyright works? So copyrights is basically an idea when generated from a human body in a tangible format in either literary or artistic manner is then called a piece of artwork in a tangible form. So therefore, it is an intangible property created in a tangible format which further needs protection from any duplication or inspiration, which is going to be unfair to the original owner of the work of art. And therefore it gets protected under the laws of copyright. So further moving on, we'll understand what all gets covered in copyright. Copyright has a vast variety of examples to it and varieties or categories of products to be segmented into it. So therefore, we'll look into 5 major categories. The first one is literature, which includes poetry, novels, books, textbooks, magazines, even any published work, published papers, etc. are going to be covered under the literature part. The second is music, which will include background music, any song, jingle, or anything which has to do or is connected with musical tonalities. And the third part is dramatics, which will include any of the motion pictures, movies, plays, etc. The fourth category is artistic work, which will include paintings, printed material, blueprints, architectural work, etc. A few examples of it can also be any of the artworks which are printed on products, or any of the final takeaways that we take on either movies or any products are going to be considered under this category. And the fifth one will have a miscellaneous category which will include photographic work, softwares, etc. Now we'll speak of registrations and protection of copyright. So copyrights get registered in India under the law of copyright, whereas it is compulsorily optional. There is no compulsion for any owner of the work of the artwork to go ahead and register the copyright. But from a legal perspective, it is always advisable to do so. Reason being, it will give the owner of the artwork an upper hand to fight any of the legal battles if need be so. So when we come to registrations, the process is very simple. You have to file a particular form under the copyright law and get it registered, verified and registered through the procedural aspect of the registry. After that, once the registration is granted, the owner of the artwork gets protection in the country as well as worldwide, and all the countries who are signatories to Berne Convention. So copyright can be registered and protected in India. And how do you go about it? The first point is where we need to understand that it is not at all mandatory to get your work or work of art registered under the law of copyright, because by means of creation itself, the copyright is granted to the author. But for avoiding any of the legal complexities and to have an upper hand as an author or owner of the copyright, it is always advisable from a legal angle to go ahead and register it under the law of copyright. How does it help? It gives protection to the copyright work from the date of creation to the complete age of the author. And after that, the year starting consecutively after the death of the author, it gives protection for 60 years to the work of copyright. And it gets protected not just in India, but all the signatories to the Berne Convention. And if we had to speak the number of years protected outside of India also, in the US and Europe, it gets protected for 70 years. And a few other countries, it ranges from 50 to 70 years as per their country's regulations and rules. A proper registration of copyright will grant you as an author and owner of the work both equal economic and moral rights. Now, what is the difference between economic and moral rights? Economic rights is basically the right to reproduce or earn money from the work of art and commercialize on the same. Whereas moral rights is basically asking for the authorship and it is the moral authority of the author, which is non-transferable in nature. Economic rights, whereas, can be transferable from one person to another by taking permission from either the author or any legal heirs of the author. We speak of related rights. Related rights are granted to individuals or organizations making this work available to the public or enhancing economic benefits which are on large scale. This category would include performers such as actors or musicians or producers of music recordings or even broadcasting organizations such as TV, radio, OTT platforms, podcast, etc. Now, performers have to be compensated for all those live performances, and therefore producers hold right over music recordings or they are sold or whenever they are sold or streamed on different platforms. Now, broadcasting rights also cover airing of content on television, radio or other platforms as per the economic benefits that the owner thinks of reaping out of the work of art. So one such amazing example to it is earning royalties. And whenever a performer is using any music in a commercial manner, they will either pay royalty to the original producer or owner of the music work before using it. And if at all they have not taken permission and they have used it already, they would then pay a part of their profits to the owner. Now we'll jump on to understanding what is fair use doctrine. This particularly means that it allows limited use of copyrighted work without taking specific permission of the owner. The purposes for these kind of works can be critique work, education, news, etc. And factors to use these include the purpose of use, amount of work used or originality of the new work as well, and the commercial impact on the original work. A good example here can be for educational use. Any student using any text from the textbook for creating a project cannot just copy, paste everything that is written in a textbook or any other reading material they have referred to in 100% capacity. They will have to add on their own part of understanding and explanation to what they mean to learn from that particular text or the portion of text they have used in making their own project. Another such example is critiques work. So we see all these critiques work out there on YouTube, which could include movie viewers, movie reviewers, and using clips for analysis and showing what they thought of the movie or what were their perspectives. And they would use original movie clips, which can be in very small proportion or portions, not revealing completely what the movie is. Similarly, the same concept is applied to news reporting as well. What are exactly the do's and don'ts before we completely understand copyright? So Compulsory dues for copyright using is that it begins on creation. Use of copyright notice while using your work in public is a must if it is not registered. And be aware of the fact that moral rights of the copyright for your own work as well as others is the basic right of the author and owner of the copyright. The registration is not mandatory but suggested to either register or create a copyright deed of assignment for all the legal records and use it as an upper hand if at all any legal battle is to be fought. Maintain documented agreements to protect any related or neighboring rights of your work. What are the exact don'ts of using copyright? So the first part is make use of fair use of doctrine to infringe upon any copyrighted work. In the idea of or in the face of fair use doctrine, anybody wanting to infringe upon any copyrighted work is completely no. Forget to attach a copyright notice with your work. Because the moment you do that, you give away your copyrighted work in public domain without enjoying any benefits of it, either economic or moral. And then later on, taking away the fact that moral rights of the author while exploiting the economic rights are going to be fair enough. And the last point is confusing an original work as ideas, titles, names or designs as work of copyright, because these get covered as different kinds of intellectual property rights, which we are going to further understand in our series of this course. Thank you. So one interesting aspect about not getting registered and still claim your copyright work is use of copyright notice. So components including the following, which is copyright in a symbol format or copyright as a complete word, along with the year of creation and copyright owner's name, full stop, writing all rights reserved as a sentence, along with all your published work or any of your work that is presented to the world without getting it registered, will get get to enjoy the complete rights of copyright under the law of copyright. The examples of that can be seen on your screen. We'll now look into the key takeaways as well as do's and don'ts of copyright. So further diving into what are the must-dos when it comes to copyright is that it begins with creation and use of copyright notice while you are using your work in public. If you have not registered it, consider registering it to avoid any legal battles under the law of copyright. Be aware of the moral rights of the copyright for the author of the work of art, and as well as maintain all the documented agreements such as deed of copyright agreement or any protection related to neighboring rights or related rights. What are the key don'ts or a must list of don'ts when we look into copyrights is that making use of fair use doctrine to infringe upon any copyrighted work. It is a complete no-no. Forgetting to attach a copyright notice with your work, considering in good faith, and taking away the moral rights of the author while exploiting it for economic benefits, and also confusing with the original work of artwork in any form of idea, which is titles, names, designs, or such works, because these are covered under different other types of intellectual property rights and not copyright. What are key takeaways from this whole session is that copyright protection starts upon creation of the work itself. And legal documentation, though not mandatory, is highly recommended. Understanding and respecting both economic and moral rights are crucial for the person who is creating the work as well as using the work. Misuse of any fair use doctrine can lead to legal consequences as well. Thank you.
Do share your feedback on where we can improve on what we just covered. Thank you.